Well, thank you for that warm welcome. Honestly, I couldn't feel more at home, and in fact, we're not far from where I grew up in East London. And as a young man, if I'm really honest, I never thought I'd come into this building. And actually, as an older man, I never thought I'd come into this building. But, Una invited me, and, you know what she's like. She's a little bit obsessed with diversity. And I said, Una, get out more. Stop watching so much TV. But the thing is, when you do watch TV, and when you do get out more, you do see there's a disconnect between the real world and the TV world. Okay, now people in the TV world aren't the same people as the people in the real world. And there's an even bigger gap between the people that make TV and the people who watch TV. Now, I should know because I live in the TV world. I know there's a lot of reality TV, which I hate, but reality TV hasn't quite caught up with reality. Change is coming, but it's going to take its sweet time. Now, why change? Number one, I think because the TV world helps shape our real world. It's the window into our world. But when we look out the window, actually, none of us really live on Downton Abbey. Number two, because the creative industries are the foundation of Britain's economy. You guys want to safeguard Britain's economy, right? That's our job. So if you want to, number three, safeguard the economy, you have to safeguard the creative industries because we rely on talent. Now, talent is the lifeblood, right? We can't afford to waste it. Otherwise, we can't give it away. But when you don't reflect the real world, too much talent is actually trashed. Now, talent is everywhere, but opportunity isn't. Talent can't reach opportunity unaided, especially on our small island. That's why Britain's talent gets exported all over the world. And we, I don't think, in my opinion, haven't done enough to nurture our diverse talent. Now, before I go on any more, and I'll tell you now, I am so nervous. But before I go any further, I'm really not here to speak about just black people on TV. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to talk about diversity, okay? Diversity in the modern world is more than just a skin color. It's a gender, age, disability, sexual orientation, social background, and most importantly, in my opinion, it's diversity of thought. Because if you're given genuine diversity of thought if you have genuine diversity of thought among people that make television and film, then you accidentally won't shut out some of the groups I just mentioned just now. Anyway, on the whole, I don't actually think of myself as just a black actor. I'm an actor, I'm not a number, just like anyone else, you know? And you MPs, you know what I mean, okay? So, by the way, thank you for all these MPs that showed up today. Una says it's unusual to get 100 MPs into a room. She says normally she can't even get one, ouch. But you guys know what I mean by not being just a number. I suspect those of you who are parents, when you speak to your children, you don't speak as a politician, you speak as a parent, okay? I'm not just a black man and you're not just a politician, unless you're both. Shout out to those in the room. Now, none of us... But none of us are just one color or one flavor. Otherwise, we'd be sort of one-dimensional. And that's what used to drive me nuts as an up-and-coming actor. My agent and I would get scripts, and we were always asked to read the black male character, all right, or the athletic type, and that was just Crime Watch. I'm not joking. But when the script asked for a black male, it wasn't describing a character or a person's character, it was describing a skin color. Now, a white character, a white male, was always called a Caucasian, or a man with a twinkle in his eyes. Now, my eyes may be dark, but they definitely twinkle. And I was like, I want to play the guy with the twinkle in his eyes. So I got to a certain point in my career where I saw the glass ceiling. I was so close to it, I was going to hit my forehead on it. But I was busy. I got lots of work. I realized that I could only play so many best friends or gang leaders, all right? I knew that I wasn't going to land a leading role. I knew there wasn't enough imagination, not yet, for the industry to be seeing me as a lead. In other words, if I wanted to star in a British drama like Luther, for example, then I'd have to go to a country like America, all right? Now, some people might say back then, look, there was no black detectives, you know? Like, how can you expect us to make a TV show about one? It's television. Sorry. And the other thing is that I didn't see myself or my culture on TV, so I literally just stopped watching it. Instead, I decided to go and become TV. Now, if I aspired to be on the levels of Denzel Washington's and the Robert De Niro's in the world, I had to reinvent myself. I had to transform the way the industry saw me. I had to climb out of that box. In other words, I didn't go to America because I couldn't get parts. I went to America because I was running out of parts. All the parts were the same. 20 years ago, 25 years ago, actually, I'm aging myself here, but 25 years ago, there was a handful of casting directors that had that vision, visionaries, I think. Doreen Jones, Priscilla John, the Hubbards, Leo Davis, Mary Selway. Now, these were people who regularly auditioned me and saw the twinkle in my eye and put me up for roles that were definitely not written for me or my type. And at which point, I'm going to add now, just because I've got the opportunity, the BBC was the first broadcaster to give me my first break. And in all honesty, they have been incredible to me, not to mention our country, and not to mention the world. Just saying. Anyway. Thank you. They had the imagination. It's the same imagination that casting director Nina Gold had when she cast the film Attack the Block, all right? She searched the whole of London for raw talent, much of it diverse, and she found John Boyega, a British-born African. Nina then put Boyega up for the leading character in the latest Star Wars blockbuster. Now, since when did the lead character of Star Wars come from Peckham? I mean, but it was since a woman with imagination became the casting director. Now, it's that vision and the vision of people like Nina and those 5 original casting directors that allows me to stand here in front of you today. And the fact that I refuse to be pigeonholed, and I have to say, it was really hard work. But what all of this has taught me is that too often people get locked into boxes, and it's not a great place to be. Now, ask women, okay? They'll say the same thing, or disabled people, or gay people, or any number of unrepresented groups. So today, I'm asking the TV and film industry to think outside of the box. In fact, just get out of the box, forget it. This isn't a speech about race. This is a speech about imagination. And as I said before, a speech about diversity of thought. Now, thankfully, in our country, we can say what we want, all right? But we're not as free as we think because our imaginations are still boxed in. We can't help putting people in boxes. It's practically a national pastime. The funny thing, it's not good for the people locked in the boxes, and it's definitely not good for the people who decide what goes on the box. Audiences, they don't want to see caricatures because the thing about a caricature is that you've seen it before. So I really want our incredible, and it is incredible, creative and television industry to be more imaginative of the cultural exports that we send around the world. I mean, we have an amazing record. Let's think about Britain's place in history for a second. For half a millennia, we shaped the world. Winston Churchill said he could save the British Empire from anything except the British. Like all great men, he had his flaws. All right? He wasn't too hot on gender equality. The women MPs in the room will know what he said to the first women MP, that having her in Parliament was as embarrassing as if she walked into the men's toilets. Some of Churchill's attitudes were stupid, plain. But he truly was a visionary when he said, the empires of the future are the empires of the mind. Now, before I leave the empires, I just want to say that I was honoured just the other day to receive and become an officer of the British Empire. And the exact title is, and I read it out for you, Officer of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire, snappy. Now, of course, the word empire is laden with meaning, especially to the son of a Ghanaian mother and a Sierra Leonean father. Right? The irony isn't lost on me. The British Empire has brought great progress to some, and others great suffering. But history isn't always neat and tidy. The sums don't always add up. But what's for true is that our empire gave birth to the multicultural miracle that is modern Britain. And for that, I am absolutely grateful. Okay, so back to empires of the mind. That's my theme. It's how can we change our mindset? How can we be more imaginative and to make our creative industries more successful? How can Britain influence and embrace diversity and be more tolerant? When you look at the news today, I mean, absolutely nothing could be more important. But because we do better than most countries, then it doesn't mean that we have nothing else to learn. So let's look at the lesson of the Olympics. What did we learn? We learned that if you invest in sports, you win gold. That our country is a nation of volunteers. That disabled sports can be as more, if not more thrilling than non-disabled sports. And that VIPs can make their way to Newham, even if they do have their own bus lane. We came third in the medal table on our own soil. What an achievement. But make no mistake, we could get more gold, okay? Here are two incredible facts, that 50% of all British medal winners went to private school. Yet, only 7% of all British kids go to private school. Now, how many more Mo Farrows did we miss? How many Jessica Ennises will never be discovered? Let's think about what could have been achieved if we fished the fish for talent consistently amongst the other 93% of British kids. And that's what we should be doing in all industries, including television and film. Be more consistent about looking for talent everywhere. Even so, when Mo Farrow is wrapped in a British flag, Somalian-born, raised in Newham, and when the entire British nation cheers on him fanatically, the world intuitively learns more about diversity and tolerance from us. We show the world that Britain actually does want to think outside the box. That's how we change from an empire of raw materials and military might to a cultural empire, exporting talent and creativity. We don't steal gold anymore, we win it. From hard power to soft power. And in terms of soft power, nothing is more important than our media. That's the truth. Only one other country in the world influences what people watch more than us. Any guesses? You know. In terms of real estate on this earth, we are a small island, but in terms of culture, we are a continent. The Britain I come from is the most successful, diverse, multicultural country on the earth. But here's my point. You wouldn't know it if you turned on the TV. So many of our creative decision makers share the same background. They decide which stories get told and which stories and how Britain is viewed, beg your pardon. Even to ourselves, especially to ourselves. Furthermore, how Britain is viewed on the world stage should concern all of us. It's all our business. And that's why everyone should care about the media industry. It's the custodian of our global identity. But everyone knows, all right, that British broadcasting is a tough gig. Execs that are running the companies, and hello to all of you that are in the room, you need to make cash, grab audiences, and please government. And these days, you're in the fight for a death against the streaming companies, the platform companies, the content people. The war never ends. Technology has turned television on its head. The audience is now both consumer and commissioner. Now, if young people don't see themselves on TV, they just switch it off and log on. That's it. They create their own channels, they create their own audiences, and they become their own CEOs. They don't need us, broadcasters. Because, as the experts in the room will tell you, the TV industry is about two things. That's the pipes and what you send down the pipes. The pipes used to just be the broadcasters. The broadcasters were the only ones that can send any content down the pipes. But now, anyone can send whatever they want down the pipes. Before, there were only 4 broadcasters, and now everyone is a broadcaster. A lot of young people never switch on their TV. They turn they're on their mobile phones all day long, pretty much. Times are truly changing when the times that TV was the only way to the outside world, those have long gone. Kids now have Windows right in their pockets. So, what will bring along the change that we need? Right, well, 3 things. And number 1, a change in the mindset of all commissioners and content creators to think about diversifying at the beginning of the creative process and not at the end. Number 2, transparency. Friendly competition between broadcasters and see who's actually doing what for creative diversity. Benchmark it. This encourages everyone to do better. And number 3, a different approach towards risk. Now, the Netflix story is that risk-taking delivers audiences. Let's be honest, okay? Too often, commissioners look at diverse talent as risk. Black actors in a leading role is seen as a commercial risk. Women directors are seen as a commercial risk. And disabled directors are never ever seen. In general, if broadcasters want to stay in the game, commissioners must take more risk with diverse talent. Now, if you're thinking, all right, so who are you to say all of this? Good, because I'm thinking exactly the same thing. I said to Una, who am I to say all of this? And she said, you're a British export, da-da-da-da. I mean, she was talking about me as if I was a case of Nigerian Guinness. Thanks. If some people want to see me as an export, then fine, but I only come with my story and my observations. I'm a product of my imagination. Made in Hackney, made in Newham, made in Dagenham, but above all, I was made in my mind. I was seeing it, thinking it, doing it. I used to fit tyres in Forest Gate, and now I make films in Hollywood. And the difference between those 2 lives is opportunity. By the way, I got my tyre fitting job through the youth training scheme, the old YTS scheme. Do you remember that in the 80s? But before that, for a while, I went to a disabled school because I had severe asthma. I finally got my first break in the creative industries from the Prince's Trust. Yes, good old Prince Charles came in there. Well done, mate. And he helped me break into theatre and then television. The Prince's Trust subsidised one of my first jobs with the National Youth Music Theatre. They gave me 1,500 quid because, my parents didn't have enough money. And there were hardly any black kids because none of us could afford it. And although back then I didn't get to meet Prince Charles, we had one thing in common. We both fell into the same line of work as our parents did. It's true. My dad worked in a car factory, and so before I could get any work as an actor, I ended up doing night shifts at Dagenham. In fact, Ford Dagenham had more opportunity and diversity than the TV industry I was trying to break into. True. And without the Prince's Trust, I probably wouldn't have made it, because there are so many invisible chains that hold you back. Now, historically, in Britain, you never escaped. If you started at the bottom of the heap, the likelihood is that you died at the bottom of the heap. But things started to change in this very building. In this building, where every monarch has been crowned since 1066. Now, before I go any further, I want to tell you now my history is and all that. A long time after I left school, someone explained to me what the Magna Carta was. Now, for people in your industry, Magna Carta is the basis of modern democracy. And for people in the music industry, It is an album by Jay-Z. So Magna Carta was a peace treaty between the kings and the barons. Shout out to the barons in the room. The idea was... The idea, these jokes are horrible, aren't they? The idea was the peace treaty between the kings and the barons. So the king couldn't just take things off people at a whim. It was about keeping things fairer. It was preceded by the Doomsday Book, a big map of London, which counted up what everybody had. Back then, kings always had their eyes on other people's stuff. They weren't sorting out auditions for kids like me. But to my point, in a funny way, broadcasting needs a Magna Carta. We need to start doing things more fairly. It's not so much as a peace treaty, but an opportunity treaty. We need to count up what everybody has, see the lay of the land, and see who has which careers in TV. Who makes TV, who's allowed on TV. And when they get the opportunity, which roles do they play off and on screen? You have to ask the question, are black people normally playing petty criminals? Are women always the love interest or talking about men? Are gay people always stereotyped? Are disabled people ever seen at all? Do some people have their careers taken away on a whim? Is their talent unfairly ignored? So now back to the box. Back to stereotyping. Take gender stereotyping. Girls love boys, girls love dolls. Girls love dolls, and boys love cars. And actually, I do actually love cars. I am a stereotypical boy who loves fast cars. I don't mind playing Achilles in the Troilus Cressida, but I'd rather break the land speed record at 200 miles an hour. I did do that, by the way. I can't help it, but I have to ask myself, is it because I'm a man? The answer is probably yes. So women have to ask themselves a question. When they disappear off our screens at over the age of 40, is it because they are female? The answer is probably yes. And is that why they get paid less than their male co-stars? The answer is definitely yes. Fact. Now, this brings me to Channel 4's conference on diversity in the media tomorrow. And I agreed to speak in Parliament today because I really want to highlight the important discussions that are taking place tomorrow. The CEOs of Channel 4, ITV and the BBC are just some of the leaders that are meeting to discuss diversity. And Channel 4's research for the conference has been actually really interesting. The headline finding, and wait for it, is that British TV is awash with low-level sexism. The interesting comparison is that the same figure for low-level racism was only 1/10 of that. This means that women on TV are 10 times more likely to be treated negatively than black people on TV. That's crazy, right? I'm not saying that you expect black people to be treated worse than women, but God help it if you're a black woman. But as Viola Davis said in her Emmy speech last year, the first black woman ever to win an Emmy in a drama last year, you can't win an Emmy for a role that's never been written. That's true. And that's why we need more imagination from our directors, our producers, our commissioners, our casting directors, and our writers, especially the writers. All I'm saying is that we just need to be more aware. In the 70s, popular TV shows like The Black and White Minstrels and Love Thy Neighbor were awash with what you might call light-hearted racism. And at the time, though, everyone thought it was absolutely fine to go along with. It's the same with homophobia and the same with disability. What I want to say, and I'll make something very clear to you, to all the women that are in TV and film industry today, on screen and off screen. I don't think it's absolutely fine to go along with. Audiences shouldn't think that it's absolutely fine to go along with it. The industry should definitely not think it's absolutely fine to go along with. In fact, instead of that, we need to educate ourselves out of it. And however far we travel on screen, we have as many rivers to cross off screen. Now, when we take this problem into the round, the lack of opportunity leads to me being asked the same question over and over again. This is what every young actor, British actor, asks me. Black, white, male, female. Should I go to America to become a successful actor? And I'm always in a quandary because it's not always true that the grass is greener. But I went to America for... The reason I went to America is because the USA has the most famous diversity policy of all, and it's called the American Dream. The problem is the gap between the dream and reality. Now, the gap is what Martin Luther King set out to fill in his dream. To champion diversity is to champion the American dream. And it's to say that, look, if you work hard and you have great talent, you have the same chance as anyone else to succeed. It guarantees no more than that, but that in itself is a golden guarantee, and that's the guarantee I want here in Britain. Where's the British dream? I want to tell these actors, no, stay here. The stats show that we haven't had that in the past. And in fact, the stats show we don't have it in the present either. It's a shocking fact that only 1.5% of British TV is made by BAME directors, and we represent 14% of our nation. But the other thing that we haven't had is an absolute commitment from those at the very top of broadcasting, combined with the current level of strategy, finance, transparency, and accountability. This is the new system that they've put into place, working together to create the diversity network. Yes, we are trying to turn a tanker, but the tanker is actually turning. And we have so much to learn from, we have so many great people to learn from. For example, Kelly Lee, who's here from Disney ABC, who has done so much to change the face of American TV. Now, Kelly made sure that one of the most powerful people in TV got their break. That is Shonda Rhimes. And those of you who haven't heard of her, you should have, because she made Grey's Anatomy and Scandal. Rhonda isn't just the only black woman on American TV to have her own night with 3 hit shows back-to-back in one evening, but Shonda is the only person to ever have done that. She's done what no one else has ever done before, and that's partly thanks to Kelly. And Kelly has a diverse casting initiative, which is responsible for a lot of the talent that we've seen, the diverse talent that we've seen on screen in America. So it's great news that we are trying to do something similar here in the UK. And now, for the last time, I promise you, let's get back to cars, okay? Now, I was surprised to hear that the car industry and the steel industry combined don't bring in as much cash as the creative industries. So let's make our creative industries get all the talent this country has to offer, all right? Whether the talent has just walked out of Oxbridge or off the shop floor. Whether the talent, In conclusion, I normally learn all this stuff, but I'm just reading it. I'm sweating. In conclusion, really, let's have a Magna Carta moment in British broadcasting. Let's make things fairer. Let's see who's got what and what opportunity. Luckily, we do have just a thing, and it's called Project Diamond. Now, for the first time, we'll have hard data across the TV industry and seeing who's doing what, where, and when. We should take the guesswork out of it now. Our broadcasting industry will be the first in the world to have hard data about the groups that are locked inside boxes. It shows us what broadcasters' diversity policies actually work. Now, once we know that, we can actually benchmark progress. And that's what I'm asking for, is actually, can we make some progress, you know? It's what Lenny Henry and so many others have been asking for. The conclusion is that there will be some change. These are the things that I think, in my opinion, will help bring that along. Being more imaginative in everything that we do, fishing for talent in more consistently across the groups and not just the same groups, implementing transparent systems and benchmarks to what broadcasters actually do, understanding risk and really evaluating what is called commercial risk, implementing dozens of targeted policies like those that you've heard at the beginning of this meeting. Now, if you're really interested, and I really hope that you are interested, then when you make Channel 4's diversity charter some of your bedtime reading, just Google it, all right? It will keep you up longer than you think. Check out what really the BBC, Sky, ITV, amongst others, are doing about diversity. So my message today is, let's just get more professional about this whole area. Our economy, as I said before, depends on it. Our future actually depends on it. Nelson Mandela said, anything difficult always seems impossible until it's done. That was so shockingly bad. I don't know how I got the job to do that. It's horrible. But look, the good news is we're not trying to put a man on the moon. We're trying to redesign the face and character of British television. It's because British TV helps, as I said, shape our world and is the window into our world. So this debate is for everyone. Now, I'll leave you with this thought. And I don't want to cause any spoilers here, but the new Star Wars film, isn't it amazing that the princess ends up being the general? No, seriously, princess being the general. That's incredible. All I'm asking for is some real imagination, untold stories, the road less traveled. Let's think outside the box. In fact, let's smash the box. Oh, fuck it, forget the box. My lords, ladies and gentlemen, officers of the Empire, princesses, and the odd baron, thank you very much, and thanks for listening.